Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the honor of sitting down with the creative force, a filmmaker, producer, and artist who's proven time and again that taking risks and betting on yourselves can lead to extraordinary success. Sean Cisterna is an award-winning director whose journey from humble beginnings to the heights of the entertainment industry is nothing short of inspiring. Now, Sean's story begins like many great underdog tales, with a dream and a whole lot of courage. His first movie was self-funded, maxed out on credit cards, and powered by a belief in his own vision. Now, that leap of faith set the stage for the career defined by perseverance, ingenuity, and knack for storytelling that resonated with audiences around the world. As the founder of Mythic Production, Sean has been crafting films, documentaries, and television series since 2005. His company has become a cornerstone of Canadian entertainment, working with some of the biggest players in the industry: Netflix, Disney, YTV, and the Movie Network, just to name a few. Mythic Productions prides itself on telling stories with a unique voice and perspective, and Sean has delivered on that promise time and again. Now, his feature films have earned critical acclaim and international recognition. His 2017 youth romantic drama, Kiss and Cry, based on the true story of Carly Allison, topped the English-Canadian box office and became a global hit on Netflix. In 2015, Sean directed Full Out, the inspiring true story of a gymnast, Ariana Berlin, starring Jennifer Beals. The film aired on NBC, reaching over 190 stations during the lead up to the 2016 Summer Olympics, and is now streaming on Netflix and Disney Europe. His early breakout, Moon Point, which was his credit card film, was a quirky road trip comedy, charmed audiences on the international film circuit, and picked up multiple awards. More recently, his work includes the acclaim from The Vine, an enchanting story of renewal set in the vineyards of Italy, starring Emmy award-winning Joe Pantoliano, as well as The Long Rider, a documentary chronicling an epic horseback journey from Canada to Brazil. A once inspiring sculptor and artist who turned his focus to film and television, and we're glad that he did. His contributions extend to television as well, with projects like My Name is Ripley, a preschool series, and Lucky 7, a youth soccer comedy mockumentary, both of which showcase his ability to connect with audiences of all ages. But what sets Sean's apart is his willingness to take risks and his relentless drive to tell meaningful stories, from maxing out his credit card to his first film to building an award-winning career. Sean's journey is a testament to the power of believing in yourself. So grab a cup of coffee and get ready to be inspired by a true visionary. Please join me in welcoming the incredibly talented Sean Cisterna. Sean, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be here.
Now, before we dive into this, Sean, I want to dive back in time with you here. We're gonna reset the clock here. Before you go to school, before you graduate high school, we're going to York University to study television and film. What did little Sean want to do before all of this?
Oh gosh. Well, little Sean was not great at things like math or science. Those concepts just couldn't click with me. So I definitely excelled in the arts for sure. So yeah, I mean, I loved visual representations of landscapes and subjects. And so, studying art in high school and sculpting just helped me appreciate the visual image and to be able to you know, transpose those thoughts and passions onto a film canvas was a career I didn't really anticipate getting into or seeing myself succeeding in, but it was definitely the gold standard for setting my sights on.
So when you were sculpting, and I know we're going to get into the movie part, I promise you. But what was it about sculpting? Because it's just so fascinating to me that you were a hands-on guy with physical canvas and the clay and the molds and all of that. And then we went over to digital and hitting record. So what was it about sculpting specifically that you were just like, man, I really love this medium of art?
Yeah, I mean, when we say sculpting, it's more like paper mache in class, that sort of thing. But I would recreate like life-size models of like E.T., for example. So, E.T. was a seminal film when I was growing up. It was the first movie I remember seeing in a theater, and it made me, truly emotional. And wept and wondered why E.T. had to go back home. So there was something about that film that resonated with me, and I kind of knew from a very early age the power of motion pictures. Yeah, so to find some reference images of the ET puppets that I wanted to recreate with paper mache. It was just connecting to what a young Spielberg might have felt when he was seeing his vision kind of come to life before his eyes. So it was really cool to kind of put so much time and effort into recreating one of these seminal figures from your childhood.
And I'm going to guess the answer is no, but do you still have the paper mache ET kicking around?
No, I think it rained one day when I was bringing it home, and it just kind of melted into a puddle of newspaper on my way home.
So we fast forward, we graduate York University. We're now into television and film. And listen, many people know you as a director and a producer and the occasional writer. Why did you never go into acting?
Oh, I'm far more comfortable behind the scenes. I think once I step on a stage or in front of a camera, every thought kind of quickly trickles from my brain, and I feel like I'm there naked in front of the audience. That sort of feeling where you just kind of freeze. I've gotten better over the years. Certainly, I have to appear at different festivals and markets and sit on panels, and I'm getting more comfortable speaking in front of larger audiences. But no, acting is something I definitely have not studied for or have any desire to throw myself into that field. There are far more talented people that spend their lives studying for the craft, and I would much rather give them the chance.
It's neat that you say that because as a director, sometimes you might have a crew and cast of 30, 40, 50 people or three, depending on how you look at it.
Sure.
So when we talk about you speaking in front of these large crowds and stuff like that, do you ever find that it's, I'll say, awkward or given, kind of a bit of a stage fright when you have to do this crew addressal of upwards of 30 people?
Oh no. I think what when I do get kind of stressed, it's because I haven't prepared. But luckily, over the course of my career, I've prioritized the prep process in filmmaking, and as long as I'm extremely comfortable with the story and the script, and kind of know what notes I want to relay to actors and crew, and the theme is very apparent, and I've gone through various. I want to make sure that every kind of department is following a similar theme in the film, and kind of guide their creativity to follow whatever that overarching vision is for the project. So once I get that in my head, I'm very comfortable talking about the project in general, and can kind of wing anything I need to wing if I am put on the spot to kind of say something. But no, I thrive on preparation.
So I'm going to ask you this question here about, I'm going to refer to it as a holiday Hallmark movie. I think you might know this one here, Holiday Hypnosis. It was just so captivating. And for those of you who haven't seen this classic, this cult classic is what I'm going to tell everyone, Sean. Um, Walk us through the process of Holiday Hypnosis. Again, I'm going to tell everyone it's a Hallmark movie. You got to go see this. It's really funny, but it just has this beautiful twist on it. Share with us the vision behind that.
Oh gosh, that was years ago. So I think it was what my first gig out of university. I remember getting a there's this distributor in Toronto who said, I don't care what you bring us. Here's $10,000. Make a film, and it's just going to go in the Walmart bargain bin. I think they gave us like 6 or 7 projects worth of projects to do. And so that was, the first gig out of film school. It was awesome to spend the summer making these little low budget $10,000 movies that were going to get into Walmart, the bargain bins. So we had kind of free reign to do whatever we wanted. And yeah, I wanted to make a Christmas movie, and it's the story of a guy who undergoes hypnosis to calm his nerves around his fiance's parents that he's going to meet over the holidays. And a disgruntled hypnotist gives him a little bit more than he expected, and he starts making a fool of himself in front of his fiance's friends and family. Yeah, so what I loved about it is I got to work with some, fun up and coming Toronto like comedians, and and create like and young Christian Brune was in it. He went on to work on Orphan Black and became a popular Canadian actor. So it was nice to be with him at the early stages of his career. It's always a movie I think like Jim Carrey would have remade, had he he saw it. So I'm wondering if that could be like a project I can kind of re-bring to life in the future. I've always wanted to remake that on a bigger budget now that I have a little bit more access to funding and whatnot.
If you're going to get Jim Carrey, you need a bigger budget for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
But I love that you've said this where it was like these, and nothing against the Walmart bin in those movies. And as myself growing up, that was where I always went. I love going through that bargain bin and finding these gems that never
Yeah.
hit the Cineplex Theater 7 type of a thing. But that's really cool. And when you look at directing, how do you know which project to take on? Other than for someone says, "Hey, Sean, here's a $1 million check. I want you to be my director." How do you know which the product to fall in love with?
Oh, that's a good question. So, yeah, I mean, certainly, I guess the projects that resonate most with me, I don't know. I think it's certainly intuitive. I think back to my last 6 or 7 projects, and they all the ones that I've at least developed from the get go. I don't know. I love underdog stories. I love these underdog characters who seemingly can't achieve anything at the offset of the film, end up doing remarkable, extraordinary things. I love, yeah, youth protagonists as well. There's something about working with younger characters and actors that do extraordinary things is pretty inspiring. Lately, I've got into working with seniors as well, or senior based projects because I once heard on a panel on a film festival that I was at. These distributors came on and said, bring us projects for seniors. They're a market that's kind of underserved, and if you're going to create senior content, they go to the movies with their friends and their groups, and they discuss it afterwards. So that kind of got me rethinking working with youth and switching to the other end of the spectrum and working on projects for seniors, and that's kind of where my last couple projects have lived in that space. Certainly, it's a unique challenge to not only work with seniors but market films for them. It's kind of a unique and underserved market that I'm excited in trying to connect a film to that audience.
Now, when we talk about these age ranges and generations, I mean, we look at My Name is Ripley, the preschool series, and Lucky Seven, the youth soccer comedy mockumentary, and now all the way up through seniors. When you're directing and when you choose a project, are you more geared to say, hey, there's kids, so I want to work with them more over than, adults, for example, with the exception of seniors, like, that, hey, you're 15 and under versus that 30 to 40 range. I'm more inclined to go work with the 13 or 15 and under group.
It's honestly like the sense of timing as well. Like I got into the kid stuff when I had kids, and so I wanted to kind of create something for them. And maybe so I think it's like the time of life that I'm currently in kind of influences the things that I want to do. So taking care of aging parents helps me with the senior based projects, or having kids. I kind of relate to what it's like to be in the mindset of a young child. So, yeah, it certainly depends on stage of life, or opportunities that sort of come my way. I mean, in the past couple of years, I've been working with this awesome production company called Champlain Media, and they've come to me with directing some romance films or some thrillers. So it kind of, when those opportunities kind of present themselves, it's nice to jump on them and kind of test your skills outside of the your usual comfort zone, kind of yield something unique and creative. And I'm always grateful for those amazing opportunities.
Now, when we look at these opportunities and we look at, the age difference and we look at, I love what you've said, I've had younger kids, so therefore I'm more geared to creating content. Now they're teens and, aging parents. And when we look at everything that you're doing, and most people will know that, hey, Sean, you're hired on day one and here's your casting crew. You really have day one until day 15, day 30, depending on how long the shoot is. How do you how do you approach and build that trust with casting crew so instantly?
Oh, that's a good question. I always love to, if it is a project that is on a limited schedule, I'll always make sure to reach out to every actor beforehand and have a conversation with them. We often meet for lunch or dinner or coffee as a group, and maybe in a roundtable sort of scenario where we can chat about the project before we get onto set. Oftentimes, the schedules are so packed that we don't get rehearsal time, so
Mhm.
even just a simple dinner or a roundtable meeting where we can all be together and read the script and chat about the each character's arc throughout the film and motivations really helps to save time on set. So that's primarily what I love about meeting actors beforehand. It's the chance for everybody to be on the same page and make sure that their characters are making the right decisions at the right time. Um, and to be able to discuss that beforehand before you reach the set and the location, it just helps the day go quicker, and that's always what we're trying to get. You figure like a day of shooting, you get maybe 20 20 setups. That's every time you move the camera and the technicians do their thing and they light the shot. It averages about 20 setups a day, but if I can squeeze that to 25 with well prepared actors, and it just allows me to have more footage in the editing room to play with.
And do you find that doing this round table or dinner beforehand, you kind of get this feel for people that I'll say that you may or may not have worked with for a time or the first time with them, where you'll find you kind of just sit there with your experience and say, "Huh, that's going to be a challenge when I hit record with you, isn't it?" Or you're able to find these early stage hiccups or mountain molehills, if you will.
Yeah. And I think that is number one. Yes, it definitely helps either temper expectations or amplify them. It could go the other way as well. Sometimes we like to work in references from other sort of forms of arts. Like we'll go through, I always love to walk through the AGO at the beginning of the year, the Art Gallery of Ontario, and kind of, take a few reference photos of frames that just kind of speak to me for some reason. So I'm always like working in visual art references into my film compositions. So yeah, there's that excites actors as well to be able to draw from art history and put it into their performance. Makes it a unique and kind of fun challenge throughout the day. I think we get one special shot a day. We have to always get our traditional coverage and make sure the broadcasters are happy with what we're delivering. But if there's a opportunity to create one unique shot per day that satisfies everybody's sort of creative juices on the set, then that's kind of what we strive for on a particular day of shooting.
I like that you said that, we walk through the AGO, we look for a different version of, I'll say inspiration for when you're on set and you're going through this. So when you talk about doing a special, this one beautiful master shot that kind of checks all these boxes, right? Do you find that you get a chance to do that? Or do you see that hey, in my experience, we aim for it, but more often than not, we are unable to achieve that shot?
Oh no, when I we definitely achieved the shot. Yeah, every especially my director of photography on the project will always know that I want the shot by the end of the day, and kind of we all hustle towards that. So I've never been in a position where we strive to set out to do something and we don't do it. That's what the beauty of prep is. You're able to create a schedule with the cinematographer and the first AD who creates the schedule, and they work towards getting me the shots that I want to get. So that's always the fun part about working with a crew that you can kind of trust, and I kind of lean on their experience as much as possible as well. I mean, you got to figure like I don't direct every day. I'm we tend to do 3 or 4 projects a year and then go into post, and it's kind of like an ebb and flow. You're in production, then post, then prep, then production. So it's kind of like this wave. And so maybe directors get 3 or 4 projects a year, but these crews that we work with are kind of constantly shooting. So they're always I always rely on them because they have the most experience throughout the filmmaking process.
It's neat that you said that, and not a lot of people really understand this, where, a director gets 3 or 4 projects a year. Why is that?
It's just that, the production is the most intense and has the most long hours, and it's certainly where all the resources and money are spent. But um, producers really want to shoot in these compressed time frames because the money is so limited, especially these days. So if you're not paying for 50 people in prep, you're paying less people, the key decision makers. And so there's often a long lead up time to the point where production starts. So if you're putting all your thought processes and your planning in those weeks leading up to the production, it just makes that production go smoother. And similarly, at the end of the production, you move into post production where you relieve the bulk of your crew. You don't have to pay them anymore while it's just the director and editor working behind the scenes. So and you can kind of craft the story, recraft the story, because that's basically what editing is. It's your chance to kind of rewrite the script in the editing studio. And yeah, so I think that's what it is. So it's like those periods of before and after the actual production are often take several weeks or months. So that's the kind of the gap between the projects that you were referring to.
Now, I've noticed that as you were talking about director, especially when you say the title director, you kind of have this glow about you. You get a different smile on your face, and your eyes are like, "Ooh, I can." What is your favorite part about being a director?
I think my favorite part about being a director is, yeah, it's coming up with that theme. We did this movie, the Long Rider. It's a documentary about Felipe Leite. He's a young um, immigrant to Canada who was deported, and to get back home to his family, crosses the Americas on horseback. Essentially, he takes these donated horses and sets out on day one from Calgary, and with the effort of trying to get back home to his family in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it takes him 2.5 years to get back home on horseback. And so, just we started the process of editing this documentary with 500 hours of footage, and to kind of whittle that down to 90 minutes was is an incredible challenge. So to be able to um you know intuitively feel what audiences kind of want out of that film like that is the most exciting part. Certainly in a documentary where you have all this footage and you're kind of sculpting and kind of whittling down at the story to its most intrinsic, I guess, what's the word I'm trying to say? The intrinsic values of the film, kind of you want that to kind of come through in the edit. But in a film like I don't know, From the Vine, that we shot in Italy, uh, I think coming up with themes of that, like going reconnecting with your past and your family's roots, that sort of thing. Those themes kind of come through in the every decision, every place you set the camera, and every decision that actors are making, is it kind of leads back to the theme of the film. So that's the most exciting part about filmmaking, is identifying those themes and discussing it with your cast and crew, and seeing what creative decisions they're all making because of those themes that you kind of implement from the beginning. If you hit play, it would take 27 days of nonstop watching to see how much footage we had to work with for the Long Rider. No, so what I did with that film is, because our protagonist was trying to get from Calgary to Brazil. I kind of put a map up in my office and kind of drew a line from Calgary to Brazil. And basically, if our protagonist went off on a tangent and did something else that day that didn't relate to that journey getting home, it was kind of cut out. So I mean, that helped kind of shape the backbone of the narrative of the documentary. And from there, yeah, we just kind of made his journey the most exciting possible. It's obviously it's a 2.5 year journey. with 500 hours of footage, you want to make it the most compelling and exciting as possible. So that was and that project could not have been done without COVID, right? That was a COVID project, and when we all went to lockdown, thankfully, I had this hard drive of footage, and uh, it was originally supposed to be a narrative movie, but when borders shut down, we couldn't film it. So our protagonist said, I have all this footage that I shot on my journey. Why don't we do something with it first? And it became the perfect COVID project because we were in lockdown anyway and had time to sift through 500 hours of footage and come up with a documentary. And now it's on Amazon. It went around the world and won over 25 different awards at different film festivals internationally. So it was really um, I don't think it would be here today if it wasn't for the pandemic. So, one silver lining from my perspective.
It's neat that you talk about this, like, a 2.5 year journey. This guy has done it, the majority of it, on horseback. So when we get into things like, he has to cross the border, or he's going to run into just people looking at him weird on the street. Can you share with us like any particular challenges that he was like, hey, I was crossing the border on a horse, and the horse couldn't get through, but I could, or vice versa, or how did you overcome, or how did he overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, borders was a huge theme in the film. Borders are these, invisible lines on a map, and they seemingly became progressively more difficult to cross the more south that he traveled. So, the first border, between Canada and the US was pretty easy. He kind of walked up to the border, they stamped his passport, they let him and his horses through. But every subsequent border became more and more difficult. He had to smuggle the horses into Mexico because he couldn't get his three horses across legally. They were only allowed two horses, so one of his horses had to be, swam across the Rio Grande by a local Mexican who does that sort of thing. And the border from Guatemala into Honduras was he had to hire a drug cartel member to help him smuggle his horses through the border because they just wouldn't allow it. So there was all this unnecessary bureaucracy that had it not been for the drug cartels, he couldn't have made this journey possible.
Silver lining
Yeah,
with drug cartels.
yeah. But the things he witnessed along the way were terrifying. It's like these you know it's easier for guns and drugs to cross borders than it is for humans. So just trying to seek a better life. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess he had to wrestle with that dichotomy of humanism. It's like what to who decides on what can travel kind of freely between borders. It was a remarkably uh you know um emotional journey for him, not only physically but emotionally as well.
Now, I want to go back in time a little bit with you here. When you were going to film school, and we don't have what we have available us today, and some young directors out there who say, geez, I want to be like Sean, or I want to be the next whoever, would you say that the traditional educational way, going to universities, going to those programs versus, the master classes online or the YouTube tutorials that are out there, how do you feel that this has really changed the landscape for people looking to go to school more traditionally like yourself versus getting the camera and going?
Hmm. Well, what I always love about film school is the fact that you can meet your first community, I suppose. You have these like-minded, similar aged individuals all coming together and getting lost in a program that and meeting this collective of people with similar yet different sort of visions for their future. So that's what I always loved about film school is doing it together and feeling that I was part of a new community that was about to tell stories for our national or international audiences. There's something very exciting and inspiring about that. But on the other hand, film school is expensive. Like university is expensive. And if you can create a similar community using, YouTube tutorials and people in your community to make films with, I'm not to say that that's not the right way to do it either. There's something we all learn how to make films. It's, one thing is, you can get the practical information in class and kind of absorb it, but there is nothing that is more valuable than that onset experience and being there tangibly with the camera and lights and seeing how time ticks away. And if you don't get the shot, then you don't get the shot, and you've wasted all that time and effort to be there. So it's a bit of both. Certainly, I've learned a lot from film school, but I think I've learned even more about the nature of filmmaking and collaboration when I'm on set. When I'm on set.
And looking back on your career, what's something that you wish you had learned earlier, or something that you wish someone would have just said, "Hey, Sean, do this. It's going to save you months or weeks or years of pulling your hair out."
Hmm. Yeah, I think the coverage is often something that you have to kind of learn. So, um, I think earlier in my career, I wanted to shoot, the scenes in master shots only, like maybe do a one or kind of create this beautiful moving master shot that looks very impressive on camera. But quickly you realize that uh, all that excitement to get that shot might not yield a similar result in the editing room, and you wish you had additional coverage to cut to. So it's kind of like a pick and choose your battles sort of balance, because you always have partners and broadcasters who want the more traditional coverage. So to be able to cover yourself in such a way that your original vision can be respected if you have the footage, but you can also satisfy the financial and business requirements of your partners if you have the additional coverage. If you kind of know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes.
no,
Yeah.
I hear you loud and clear on that
Yeah.
one. And can you share with us a piece of advice that you received that was just completely wrong? Where maybe you said, "Hey, that someone said, Sean, if you only film in masters and three shots and Dutches, this is going to be the best thing for your entire world." And you kind of were doing that, and you're like, this is just completely wrong.
Um, no, I mean, not, I don't know. So yeah, maybe at one point in my career there, being, I guess, complimentary, or I don't want to say copying formats of other projects to put into yours. It kind of felt like you're putting, I don't know, all these ingredients that didn't belong into a project just because it there may have been some sort of similarity that worked at the box office for another project. Like once you start adding elements of other films into something that you're trying to be wholly unique, kind of maybe doesn't have the best results, the best alchemy moving forward. So yeah, kind of putting these undue requirements onto a film that's about to go to camera, and kind of mixing the concepts up and themes up so that it creates some sort of Frankenstein project. So I've learned to kind of stay away from that kind of advice over the
Now,
years.
you had mentioned that you've worked with some of these larger distributors and different producers, Netflix, Disney, for an example. How do you find that when we look at maintaining a work-life balance in the industry that can be incredibly demanding of your time and of your energy, especially when you have these larger partners or when you're looking at these piece of advices that might not have been the best, or these Frankenstein shot projects and stuff?
Mm.
How do you balance that in the industry?
Well, luckily it helps that I have been with the same partner since high school. My wife Samantha like has grown up with me since we were 16, 17 years old, and so she's been following the ups and downs of the industry and the schedules. So I think it would be very difficult today if I for partners to find each other and realize what a film schedule is like. It might put a tremendous strain on the relationship, but I think I have to credit my wife for sticking by me for the ups and downs and roller coaster of the industry. Yeah, sometimes projects take me. I had to spend a month in Italy away from my young family to shoot From the Vine. I've been traveling for some television work lately. Had to go to the top of Mount Etna for a project, and to Cuba for a couple of weeks for another project. So to have this schedule would not be possible to balance it without a supportive partner. And thankfully, my kids kind of get used to when I go away to different film festivals that they know I'm only away for a few days and then I come back. So, but that's always the hardest part, saying goodbye to your family and even if albeit for a few days, but it's still to know that dad's halfway across the world is kind of comes sometimes stressful for them. So yeah, the more they get used to it, the easier it is for me to go away.
And if someone gave you a magic wand and said you get, one wish, if you will, and you can fix or change anything about today's world, what would it be?
Oh, well, the film world, I would magically hope that gatekeepers would say yes to more challenging projects, and be more open to stories that come from, um, yeah, that have not been shown traditionally on television or streaming or whatnot. I think that's the only way to get out of this sort of Marvel centric world where the same sort of stories are being retold just with different superhero capes, that sort of thing. So if broadcasters and gatekeepers are more apt to saying yes to those original projects and training our audience's brains in that capacity to love original storytelling, that's the one wish that I would wish for the future.
And while we're on that note of, let's say a magic wand, if someone said, this is the one thing that most people misunderstand about Sean the most, what would that be?
Um, I don't know. I think there's often a bad rap that film industry people get that we are. I don't know. There's I guess this notion of directors yelling a lot and being disrespectful to crew. I think, but when you come from humble beginnings, like every sort of cast and crew member are equally as creative. So I always welcome feedback from cast and crew and to implement their ideas. And if anyone has a better way of covering this in the amount of time that we have, I always love to hear those answers. So I don't know. I think I've grown up to um, love the industry and love the people that are in it, and I just yeah, I guess I want to dispel that all filmmakers are kind of wacky megalomaniacs.
And Sean, where can people learn more about you? Where are you on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook? Where can people learn more about Sean?
Yeah, many of the social platforms. I haven't done the TikTok yet, but certainly you can find me at Sean Cisterna on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X. And then my website is mythicproductions.ca, and you can find a link to many of my projects there.
Awesome. And Sean, I have time for two questions left for you. But my first question for you is what makes Sean Cisterna smile?
Oh, yeah, that's such a great question. I love I do have such a busy schedule. So whenever I get a couple of hours just to kind of sit down at my home and kind of put on a movie when everybody's kind of out of the house, that's such a rarity. And I love those moments where I can kind of get to myself just to reconnect with the the form of art that I love so much is just kind of getting lost in a movie. That's what I love. And spending time with friends and family, obviously, and all
Yeah,
that
no,
good stuff. But
alone
just
time with a good movie or friends and family.
that's
Yes.
beautiful, man. That's beautiful. I rarely get that. And so that's my number one.
And Sean, I see you there with a coffee cup or a coffee mug. What do you
Yeah.
drink in your coffee
Oh,
typically?
well, this is just a little bit of milk and some honey. So, and some obviously some strong ground coffee. And that's the cornerstone of every filmmaker, I think. So you'll often find many of us by the craft truck refilling our mugs on set to get through the day.
Well, that's amazing. As I said, that was the last question I had for you today on Coffee with Chris. I really appreciate you taking your time and being with me here today. Everyone out there, make sure you get out to mythicproductions.ca, Google Sean Cisterna, and find all the projects that he's going on to, and follow him, creep him out a little bit on LinkedIn and Instagram and everything else. But thank you so much, Sean, for your time today. Remember, everyone, to smile, to inspire, and have yourselves a fantastic day.